I wasn't supposed to be here. That thought kept running through my head as the plane began its descent. The city lights of Portland flickered in the distance, glowing faintly behind the fog. It had been 20 years since I last saw this view. I left America when I was 8, following my parents to Indonesia. I grew up there, went to school, college, felt more like an Indonesian than just an immigrant kid. But now, at 28, I was back. Not for vacation, not for a family reunion. I was back because Donny was gone. I first met Donny in Jakarta when I was 16. We had mutual friends, but he always felt different. He was one of the few people who really got me. We could talk about anything. Future plans, music, the little things that didn't seem to matter to anyone else. Then, 3 years ago, Donny suddenly moved back to America. "I think I gotta go back first," he told me over the phone. "I'm exhausted. Something's off here." I thought it was just an excuse, until he actually left. I tried to keep in touch, but he stopped replying as often, and when he finally did, his voice sounded strange. Like someone running from something. Then, a few days ago, I got the news. Donny was found dead near his apartment. No clear cause. I searched for any news about it. Only one small article came up. A man was found deceased near his apartment complex. Police have not released further details. That's it? I knew there had to be more to this, and I was going to find out what. The airport felt bigger than I remembered, or maybe I just felt smaller. I grabbed my suitcase, pushing through the crowd, scanning for a familiar face. It didn't take long. Mom stood near the exit, wrapped in a long coat and a gray scarf. Her eyes lit up when she saw me. But there was something else there. Not just longing, but something more. Dad waited in the car, engine running. I exhaled and walked up to her. "Hey, Ma." She pulled me into a quick hug. "You've lost weight," she said, her tone flat, hesitant. I let out a small laugh, even though it wasn't funny. "And you still comment on my weight," I shot back. We walked to the car, and I slid into the back seat. Dad glanced at me through the rearview mirror before saying, "Welcome back." I tried to break the tension. Technically, I never really left. No one laughed. The drive home was mostly silent. I asked how they'd been since moving back to Oregon 3 years ago. Mom gave short answers. Dad focused on driving. No one mentioned Donny. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "So, can someone tell me what actually happened?" My voice was louder than I intended. Silence. No answer. They just sat there until finally. Mom took a deep breath and said, "We'll talk later." "Not now." I wanted to push, but something in her voice stopped me. Why did it feel like they weren't just sad, but afraid? That night, I couldn't sleep. My old room was exactly the same. The posters were still on the walls. The wooden dresser still had the scratch marks I made as a kid. I sat on the edge of my bed, scrolling through my phone, looking up any news about Donny again. Nothing new. I opened our old messages. The last time we talked was 6 months ago. Just casual conversation. But then I saw it. A message from Donny. Sent 3 days before he died. I never read it. "I need to talk to you. Something's weird. I think I'm being followed." Chills ran down my spine. Why was I only seeing this now? Before I could think too much, my phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. "Stop looking. This isn't your business." I swallowed hard. Who was this? How did they know I was digging into Donny's death? I stared at my screen, a cold unease creeping through me. Then, almost instinctively, I turned off my phone and glanced at my window. The blinds were half open. The street below was empty, but something didn't feel right. I walked over and carefully pulled them shut, my heart pounding. I had just arrived in Oregon, but someone already didn't want me here. That night, I knew this wasn't just a simple death. There was something bigger. Donny didn't move back to America for family. He was running from something. And now, someone didn't want me finding out what. But I'd already made up my mind. I wasn't stopping until I knew the truth. It's been a week since I came back to Oregon. You'd think I'd be used to it by now. But I'm not. This town, this house, even the people, they all feel different. Like the place I once knew had shifted into something unfamiliar. I sat at the breakfast table, staring at my untouched plate. The house was quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It was the kind of silence that weighed on you. Dad sat with his newspaper. Mom was glued to her laptop. My brother Ryan stirred his coffee without a word. The only sound was the clinking of his spoon against the mug. I cleared my throat and decided to break the silence. Does anyone remember Donny? He used to come over all the time. Ryan stopped stirring. Dad lowered his paper. Mom kept typing, pretending not to hear me. Then, finally, Ryan spoke. His voice was careful. Why are you bringing him up? Because he was my best friend, and he died 2 weeks ago. Mom finally looked up. We've already talked about this. You need to let it go. Her voice was flat, dismissive, like she wanted this conversation to end before it even started. But his death doesn't make sense, I pressed. He told me he felt like someone was following him, and now I'm getting anonymous texts telling me to stop digging. Dad exhaled slowly, folding his newspaper too neatly. You don't need to get involved, he said, firm. I narrowed my eyes. Why? Do you know something you're not telling me? Ryan shook his head. Look, I get it. He was your friend, but this isn't our problem. Just let it go. I clenched my fists under the table. They knew something. I was sure of it. But they weren't talking. Fine. If they wouldn't help me, I'd find out myself. I left the house and drove around town, past streets I used to know by heart. But something felt off. The old buildings were still standing, but the atmosphere had changed. People glanced at me differently, some only for a second before looking away. Others avoided eye contact completely. I stopped by the small convenience store near my house. Mrs. Carter, the owner, used to give me free candy when I was a kid. I stepped inside. Hey, Mrs. Carter. Long time no see. I smiled. She hesitated before returning a small, cautious smile. Oh, sweetheart, you're back? Yeah, been a week. She glanced around, lowering her voice. Are you doing okay? I frowned. Yeah? Why wouldn't I be? She looked over my shoulder, as if checking for someone. Then, in a whisper, she said, Some things are better left alone, honey. I opened my mouth to ask more, but the door chime rang. A man walked in. He barely looked at me, but his presence was heavy, cold, like a warning. Mrs. Carter immediately stepped back, returning to the register without another word. I stood there for a second before walking out. As I got in my car, I glanced toward the store. Mrs. Carter was still standing at the door, watching me. Her expression was unreadable. That night, I found Ryan in the garage. He sat on the hood of Dad's old car, staring at the floor like he was debating whether or not to say something. Finally, he spoke. Donny used to talk about someone watching him, A chill ran through me. "What do you mean?" Ryan exhaled. He said he kept seeing the same guy every morning at the cafe, at the bookstore, outside his building. But whenever he tried to confront him, the guy disappeared. I swallowed. "And you never thought to tell me this?" Ryan looked up, his expression uneasy. I thought he was just paranoid, but now, I'm not so sure. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Stop looking, you'll regret it." My stomach twisted. Then, another buzz. Not a text, a photo. I opened it and felt my blood run cold. The picture was taken from outside my window, and in the frame was me, lying in bed. Someone was out there, watching me.